Our heroes arrive from adventure hot into civil war, born of Yannick's great underground delay on his way home. This episode, we saw the mettle of many brave women and men, and saw some hard losses but serious gains, as well as various old characters re-emerging in a new context. Sadly, Greg couldn't be with us due to tech issues, so it's another buddy cop. After months of travel, our heroes have traveled with Barbara and the soldier and Herr Eichen von Ortel the Ritter, plus their new ally Vio. They arrive in the south of their domain, the Snake Coast, to receive a letter from Sfez. It details, often euphemistically, that civil war has emerged. The Lords Halfteeth and Watano have collaborated to attempt to seize the lineal flame for themselves. Sfez and loyal lords managed to rally the remains of the Heartspanner and send them across the river to the Snake Coast to meet him so he could have a force of his own and not be overwhelmed on the way to the capital. The group takes a moment to give their orders and retrieve their steeds before heading for the river, as Yannick and Li Wei both first their own real tests of command on the battlefield. Face, even. The battle on the Gweth River will be the subject of its own more thorough video, so I'm just going to give you a swift bullet point here. Using my in-house Rosenrinken system, the army is organized by Yannick into barges in a spearhead formation. The force already has 2 units of swordsmen on the far side, but must bring their archers, spearmen, and the remainder of the swordsmen across this grand hundreds of miles wide river. This trip on barges is a one-way ride over the waters, and when they arrive, they are immediately attacked by foes lying in wait. Halfteeth's outriders have been sent with Baron Oberon from episode 1. Turns out he really wanted that bridge money. The army rushes into some hilled woods. Violence ensues, and Li Wei cracks through some foes aboard his powerful steed Redhilt. He's not fully in control of her, though, and this steed is a powerful one, whose blood rage is incredibly potent. At a pivotal point in the battle, reinforcements arrive. The enemy has much medium cavalry reaving their lines, but heavy Ritters with none other than Glisa von Steinbridge arrive for a rearward charge alongside Strauss von Bilden. Strauss is somewhat of an outsider due to being a tiefling, but Sigrun was always good to him. He has great loyalty to the Emeralds. Glisa remembers Yannick staving off the encroachment of slimy fucks. After this, Yannick's mother, Amma, arrives in the field with a band of honor of loyal Gazku skirmishers she has rallied from far to the south, who have ridden to join the battle. At the pivotal moment of the battle, as their right flank is about to be bum-rushed by an order of the enemy commander, Yannick and Li Wei approach with Vio to strike down the enemy. This consists of Oberon and his Fook gang, his loyal Ritter Herr Grazu, and a stranger cloaked in a cloak, but also darkness, who is a caster. There's roiling darkness underneath his cloak. They sling vile magics, and pillars of insect legs and mouths burst from the ground to bite their steeds. They strike down this foe, and he scatters into many insects. And then they handle Gaishud Oberon and Herr Grazu in due turn. Grazu will not surrender, but he is torn that his baron has led him to such folly, so he and Yannick face off one last time as they slide past one another. It is Grazu who strikes the ground. The army marches onward after their grand victory, where the enemy crumples with the fall of their treacherous leader. Li Wei has inspired his men, and Yannick has led his forces into the foe as well, being the overall leader but entrusting different segments to Li Wei and von Ortel while Vio fights at his side. The group heads, with their growing forces, through the woods to seek a shortcut Amma knows through the woods near the city to reach the camp of the faithful, where the Lords Weyrund and Pike have marshaled loyalist forces. On the way, however, a strange man is encountered mooring a giant felled tree he refers to as an old friend. He talks strangely, like a man who's a bit confounding, but clearly the druid he's heard tell of in these woods. He's been told he'll accept the position if asked to be court druid, and that will require for him to reach out to the Koyalda circle of druids. The true trade words, but it's clear Yannick is trying to get the man to join him, but also to assess what kind of man he is before he invites him into the court. There's a lot of conversation had, and the circle stone sigil from the throne is even referenced as he draws a 10-line circle in the dirt. They go on like this for a time, the druid getting at his point sideways and Yannick trying to keep direct. He baits Yannick into asking, but before he asks him this. What the most important thing he sees if he surveils a forest full of life is. The druid responds, water, and espouses its various places and forms, and flow giving life. But Yannick has his own response, prompted with, "Oh, what say you, Yannick?" The things that are hidden from us, is what Yannick says. The things that we do not see most often are most important. The hidden creatures of the woods, the things we look over despite them composing the fabric of the cycle of life. He explains that humans have a tendency to think of themselves above others, and to think some people below others. He cites his connection to Li Wei, who has risen through the ranks, as part of how this is a false dichotomy, and how one should pay attention to what one perceives as below. He's recruited and says, "Ha! You're Emerald? Then call me Quartz. For those who seek you will run into me." He's going to be a fun guy. Thus joined, they come together, and Quartz blows a smoke line of a blank music meter. Then he asks Li Wei for a note. Any note will do. Li Wei chooses an ambitious, low note that grows in standing as it rides out from his flute. The trees pull apart as they advance, as the smoke puffs away with that divine sigil. Iki and Kurai are arguing on a bridge. Again, they've been hired by the enemy to guard this bridge with some men, but argue over which side is right. Upon seeing Yannick, they know the gig is up, but they won't quit right away. Iki explains they are hired Ronin. They would not break contract for gold. For honor, however, and a new liege. Well, honor is more than gold, is it not? Yannick brings them both on as ridders, and they proceed to clear the bridge of foes in order to cut their way to the next scene. The camp of the faithful is assembled with forces from across the Emerald Vale, as well as a contingent of northerly allies from House Rabe, dispatched by Corwin Rabe. They explain they'd have sent more, but are dealing with Scordian raids and post-war force depletion. Yannick is grateful, and after meeting with many of his troops, including a Ritter he appointed to own a mill after a land dispute between Raymond and Pike he helped clear it up, he enters the planning tent in Gunter Weyrun's camp. What happens next is a frank discussion of the situation and their plans. The city is in chaos, with Old Town being the site of street battles between Ronin and urban samurai on various sides of the conflict. Boyar Zidane Torslava holds the market with a trading caravan and the remainder of his Yama-Jaeger forces that came home from the war with him. Loyalists are in the garrisons on all gates, but the Threehill Keep has great defenses itself, so entering the city will be no issue, but they have more to face up ahead. The massive main gate of Threehill is considered an issue, but Quartz says he'll help handle it, with Gunter giving him a cheeky slap on the shoulder. There are two major unknown factors. Fez has been reported captured, and Lady Renho Masaoka has passed by and shared tea with them before walking onwards to enter into the keep. She was received there by Watano and Half-Teeth, and it should seem she's chosen the enemy's side, though she asks them to remind Yannick, if they should see him alive again, of her words to him on the day he left for his early quest, back in episode 1. A strategist must know when to strike. He and Li Wei hope, but are not certain this is a sign. The group is resolved, and Yannick gives a speech addressing his loyal followers, speaking to their courage and invoking the family Bushido he learned back in episode 3. With all that done, it's time for killing. The army thus assembled storms the city. The gates fall as predicted, and familiar faces are present. Boyar Zidane Torslava pops open his wagons to reveal rolling armories he begins to distribute arms from to the assembled peasants. He tells them Yannick is alive and returned to them, and now is the hour to fight against the traitors who have seized the keep. This provides a huge swell of levies to help them as they rush to the keep. Within Old Town, Li Wei's friend and business partner, Herr Amato and Rofond, has rallied urban Earthers, and is pressing down the foe's posted guards and rushing to the keep as well. The enemy has the fortification, but their paper housing is folding. At the major gate, as arrows clatter about wide from on high, the group attempts to batter down the gate. But to the head of the army arrives Quartz, who, with a snap of his fingers, sends a great root up from the ground into the gear well of the portcullis. He unsticks the chain and starts pulling up. This is enough for Gunter, who personally seizes and lifts the portcullis. Holding it aloft, he issues a simple command. Charge! The army moves forward. Gazku skirmishers climbing the fortifications ease dig into archers on higher levels. The red, white, and black sashimonos of the various clans fly without the emerald of their overlord. But as the group approaches the uppermost gate, the middle gate is left unguarded by Masaoki's forces, who are swiftly fleeing, and they see Renho herself, stood over the main gate. She raises a horn and gives a single blast. At that signal, the Masaoka Butai Ridders, firing their Yumi down, but wide, towards the Loyalist forces draw steel and cut down their erstwhile allies. Rena orders the gates opened and leaps down into the enemy to begin smashing through them with her ever-massive Nodachi as her Masaoki's oars join to the fray on the side of Yannick. An orgy of violence unfurls. And Yannick says those who surrender now will largely be spared and only a few killed as an example. But as the fight evolves, he is urged on to the Keep's dungeon, where the foe will surely be trying to steal the Lineal Flame. He successfully breaches the defenses with his companions inside the main hall, as Amadouin and his forces take on most of the enemy within. There's a rat bastard holding his dear dog Samantha hostage at dagger point. Iki, who has cut down all prior foes pressing in alongside Kurai, steps forward with weapons sheathed and explains the enemy is doing it all wrong due to the position of his shoulders. Yannick has ordered him to kill this man. The man says not to move forward or he'll kill the dog. But in a single blow, Iki draws his wakizashi and strikes the man, sending his forearm sailing off. He's about to go for a response, but Sam bites his arm before he can, anchoring it in place before it is removed. Iki criticizes the man's technique and wipes his blade off on his dying, spasming body as Samantha runs to embrace her lad Yannick. The group sprints on to the command room. There, they run into the last line of elite ridders, left behind to stop them. However, Yannick's uncle Mito Kaigon Emerald has arrived by way of rope and grappling hook from the sky bridge to assail them from behind. They shout he's surrendering his family's neutrality. He says he doesn't see soldiers, just mere bandits, and lays into them with his holy blade, Tenkaseru. Yannick, Liwei, and Vio descend through the Lineal Flame dungeon and reach the fire. In a climactic battle, he faces Watano and his fluttering crane blade style, Half-Teef and his storm-enchanted power rapier Windfang, and the caster they found earlier who now throws back their hood to reveal a giant man-sized roach. Ah! The roach! Can you tell I had fun with this? They fight, and at a pivotal moment, under a fell Gios to throw himself into a spike pit, Yannick replies, "As you wish," and seizes the roach man's body. This occurs as the Lineal Flame is being seized by Half-Teef. Yannick leaving that to Liwei as he leaps down with his foe to impale him on the spikes. With the ancestors in the Lineal Flame on his side, Liwei stabs forth and reduces the treacherous Half-Teef bastard to dust by running around him and then thrusting his blade straight forward into the man's chest alongside the strike of all those spirits within the flame. Thus, we ended the session with an absolute victory for the Emerald Rose over the treacherous Half-Teef Watano coalition. Well then, that was the Leecap. Now for the Leeflections. Overall, it was a tight ship running kind of night, and we hit every single note. The players threw me some curveballs, and the ending fight surprised me with how it panned out, but overall, I loved every second of it, and I think the players had a lot of fun too. Our beta test of Rosenringen, the mass battle system, was promising, but more extensive testing is required. Next week, it's on to Realm Management in a big way, in the more open-ended bit of the campaign before we have our closer for Book 0. This has been wonderful, but I'll be glad to have some time between now and spring's end to finish up everything before Book 1.